Hey guys, today we got a 2000 Nissan Frontier. It's a 3.3 liter automatic, and it doesn't start. I've checked the starter. I've done all kinds of tests on it already. We've determined that it is the neutral safety switch. It's very difficult to see what you're doing in there if you don't move that catalytic converter. So to me, I think that's the hardest part, to get that converter out. You do have to remove the support on the transmission. You have to battle that, kind of move it back. And then there's also a bracket on the transmission that you should take off as well. That's pretty much the gist of it. The neutral safety switch actually unplugs from up here where the fuse box is. I lost some footage, so that's why I'm kind of going over stuff right now before the video. So first thing you want to do is you want to jack up the vehicle. Put some jack stands under there. Make sure you secure it. And then next thing you want to do is unplug the battery. So go ahead and unplug the positive cable on your battery. Up in the engine compartment, and there's 4 harnesses right where the fuse box is. The top harness has 2 wires on it, so it's the top one, and then there's a second, a third, and a fourth harness. It would be the third harness. So it'll basically be the top harness and then the third harness. Those are the ones you're going to unplug. And then when we get down to getting the exhaust system and all that down, we're going to have to unplug the oxygen sensor, which is also up here. And if you wanted to take that off as well, once you look at the video, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's the one furthest to the back. There's 2 harnesses right there. It's the one furthest to the back. You unplug it. You slide it out, you unplug it. And then when you pull the harnesses, you can pull them all down at the same time. So it's better to go through this whole video before you start anything. Some people will take off the wheel on the passenger side. They think that they can get to some of the bolts up on top. I think that might be the case on the 2.4 liter, but on the 3.3 liter, there's no reason to take off anything on that wheel. What you do need to do is you need to be able to work on the passenger side, because that's the cat that you're going to have removed. It's the secondary catalytic converter. There's 3 bolts up there. The first one you can kind of get to it. The second one's a little tougher, and then the third one is very, very hard. You will need a breaker bar. You will need some kind of a penetrating fluid. I used WD-40 because that's all I had. Make sure you soak those really well, and you need some kind of a breaker bar with some kind of a ratchet, strong ratchet, or a breaker bar. And you're gonna need a bunch of different extensions. The main thing there is if you have like a swivel right at the tip of your connection. Because if you can get that thing to swivel, then you can leave really long extensions, and then you could use the breaker bar, and it makes it so much easier. I do show something in the video. I believe I do show one of the extensions that I have. It actually has a different kind of end on it, but you don't want to use one of the universal ones that completely swivel. You can get the socket, it's just dropping on you and all that. You're going to have a lot of problems with that. If you can find something similar to what I show on there, that would be great, because it would make your job super, super easy. I was able to get all the bolts off without breaking one. And I mean, I think I got lucky. You just don't want to go down hard and try to take it off or use any kind of an impact. The impact's probably not going to even work anyways. It'll probably just snap the nut. So you want to make sure to just spray enough on there. I sprayed it the day before, and then I sprayed it during, over and over and over again. And even when I took off the bolts, there was nothing in there. So something got just beyond the head maybe, but not inside the actual thread. Now, if you do take the wheel off, you might be able to shoot some of that penetrating oil into those screws from the top. But I think underneath there you can kind of shoot it up there, and you can get it in there. So I wouldn't take it off. It'll save you a little bit of time. So when we get under there, the first thing we want to do is there is a plate right next to the cat. It's like 2 bolts. It's like 2 10mm bolts. You want to take those off. Take that little shield off. I believe it's a heat shield, and it's right there where the neutral safety switch is. So you want to make sure to take that little plate off. Once we get that plate off of there, so the next step there, okay, so we get under there, you start to spray your the 3 bolts on the top of the catalytic converter. Spray those, and then also on the back where there's a flange in the back. When I took the catalytic converter out, there's 3 screws on top. It's like a triangle shape, and there's 3 screws. There was no gasket up there. When I went to go check the parts store, they said it's supposed to have a gasket up there. He sold me a gasket. The only issue I had with the gasket is when you look at the gasket, the holes and everything line up here, but these holes on the gasket he sold me were a little bit smaller. So I would recommend a line, if you can, maybe make the hole a little bit bigger on the ends of each of the holes. Even on the back gasket, I would line probably this one I took off, so you can line it up to the other gasket. This is exactly the same, but these seem to be a little bit smaller on the very ends here and here. So if you take like some kind of a little drill and kind of drill it out a little bit more, you're gonna save yourself some time and a lot of screaming and yelling, especially with the triangle gasket, the one that goes up on top, the one that has the 3 holes. If I would have drilled those out a little bit more, I wouldn't have been fighting it because I couldn't get the screws in there. I was fighting those so bad. That took me almost an hour and a half just to get those screws in there. And I didn't want to have to pull everything back down. I already had one of the bolts in, and then I finally ended up getting them in there. So that was probably the hardest part of the job, is getting to those 3 bolts on top and getting that down. So what we do is when we get under there, we're gonna try to get the bolts up on top of the cat out, okay? And then there's 2 bolts in the back of the cat, where this gasket goes. Now, the gasket I bought does not look like this. It does not have this cutout here. It's just a whole gasket. It doesn't matter, okay? That one will work. If you want to get the original, fine. Or I think you'll find some of these online that have the cutout. They're a little bit more. I think they might be about 13 or 15 bucks on eBay. This one here was pretty cheap. So I'm gonna show you. So the exhaust pipe one, both these gaskets, one of them was $199 at O'Reilly's, and the other one was $399. So basically both gaskets were $650, which was cheap. Okay. Now obviously they're not the originals. And then like I said, I've seen some of these on eBay that look almost identical to this. Now I don't know if this is the same. It just looks similar to this, where it has this notch out. It didn't really matter because it didn't seem like anything was in the way where this was there. I didn't have a problem getting this in there. It just had to get to these holes right here on the sides. I had to really push it in there and hard. And it looked a little bit different than this. It looked like that one had like almost like a different type of material out here, and then metal in between, and then that same type of material on the other side. Whereas this one looks like it's all metal, and it looks like it has like 4 little pieces of metal if you open it up. And the guy said it was for that, so I went ahead and put it in. I didn't want to. I think he had a little bit of an exhaust leak, so when we started it up, that exhaust leak was gone. So I'm glad I put the gasket up on top, even though I was almost not going to put it in because it was so hard to get it in there and keep it on there. So in the video I can't really show a whole lot of that. It's just you kind of have to just know once you get in there, you're going to put the screws in and you have to have the gasket in there. I mean, that's not too difficult or anything like that to know what you have to do there when you get to that point. To me, the other part that was a little bit difficult was you have to take the support off for the transmission. Now the support for the transmission, there's 2 huge bolts on the ends. I believe they're 17 millimeter, and then there's 2 bolts in the middle, which those ones were easier. I think those might be 13 or 14 millimeter or something like that. So you got to take those bolts off. There's also a bracket that goes on the muffler, and then it goes to the transmission. There's 2 bolts there. You need to take that off as well. Now, the hard part of the support is not hard to take off. The problem is that the bolt that comes through, if you go and use your drill and say you take it off or you break it loose, once you break it loose, that bolt just starts spinning. You have to get from the top, and you got to put a ratchet on it with the socket and hold it. And that's not the hard part. The hard part is getting the ratchet in there and trying to get it on the bolt, because you can't. It's all touch feel. And once you get it in there, you hold it, and then I used the drill, and then I undrilled it. And same thing when I torqued it back. And then after I was done, I went back and I did it with my big drill, and then I really torqued it down. And then you have to move that that support, that piece of metal that runs across from one side to the other. You have to move it as far back as you can, because what's going to happen is you're going to want to drop the catalytic converter down and out. Now, if you can take the oxygen sensor off, you're going to have to use some kind of a wrench, because you're not going to be able to get a special tool in there. There's no room. Then if you can get it off, great. Take it out, and then the top bolt is going to make it easier, because then you'll have a straight shot to it to be able to break it loose. I couldn't get mine off. It looked like it was welded on there. I mean, I sprayed stuff on there. Even when I got it out of the vehicle, I was able to get the tool on there, and it looked like I was gonna snap that thing. So it didn't want to come off. So I guess when that comes to the point where I need to get it out, if I do have to get it out, I'm gonna have to use a torch and probably heat it up and then get it out, because that's probably be the only way to do it. I didn't have a torch, so I couldn't do it. But anyways, it would have made it easier, working it and all that stuff. But either way, I worked with it in there. I was still able to get in there, and I was still able to break everything loose, get everything off. Now I had access right there to the actual neutral switch, which basically is held on by 3 bolts, okay? Now, in front of that, there is a lever, okay? So that lever has a little pin on there, like a cotter pin, and it's a weird looking cotter pin. So that cotter pin has to come out. You need to take off that little thing that's on there, that little, I don't know, there's like a little rod coming out with a circle on it. You need to pull that and take it off of there, and then that lever, you need to unbolt it and take that metal piece out, okay? So once you got that out, now you have access to the 3 bolts, which I believe are 8mm bolts. They're tiny little bolts. You need a small socket and a small little ratchet, and get in there and take those 3 out. I used a 1/4 inch ratchet. So I got those 3 off. I think there's another, I don't know if there's another lever or something back there that you have to move, maybe to get to the last bolt. So once you get those 3 out, there's actually a bracket that holds up the neutral safety switch wiring, okay? So if you can take that metal piece off and get that wiring off of there, great. You can, then you're pretty much set. Then you could just leave the bracket, kind of bend it up, and just get it out of the way. Because there's another bolt on top of there. I don't know what size it is, because mine didn't have the bolt, but I'm assuming it looks maybe like a 10mm hole, and that's bolted to the transmission. That's way up there, and it's very hard to get to. I don't know if you could really even see it. So mine didn't have it. I lucked out, and I just basically, when I took it off, I was able to get the bracket out of there, just kind of bring it down, and then I just put it back up there, and then I just put it back at the end. And then those harnesses, like I say, they run up to the front up here, so you're gonna start to pull them down. Now the harnesses are in a split loom, a black split loom that goes all the way down there. Now you want to open up that split loom, and they might be taped together with the other 2 harnesses that are in the vehicle that are for something else. So you might have to cut like the little pieces of tape every 6 or 8 inches or something like that. They might be taped together until you see that they separate. Once they separate, then you can just pull them down. Now, a couple options here. If you have somebody helping you, great. When you feed those wires back up, they can grab the wires for you and pull them up. If you don't have anybody helping you, what you could do is you can actually just, as long as you have the battery disconnected, you can cut that harness down there, maybe tape them up to there, and pull it up. That way you can get them up there a lot. Either you can even plug them in if you want, and then just run your loom back on there and everything once you got all that buttoned up. Now this vehicle had a huge problem. All that wiring had melted, and I had repaired it maybe like a week ago. I cut out about 1.5 feet of wire under the vehicle because it was stranded in the street. So I fixed all that. There was a short. When I replaced the wiring, the short was gone. but I don't know if that fried the neutral safety switch because it didn't want to work. Once I fixed all that, even when I pulled the wiring out, the wiring looked fine. Nothing had come disconnected or anything, but the neutral safety switch wasn't working. So once I got this other one in there, I plugged it all up, I got it all set, and vehicle turned right on. So we're good to go. I wasn't getting any power up here on the relay up here, and that's when I knew something was wrong, because I was getting crank at the fuse up in the front, inside the vehicle, but I was not getting anything over there at the main, at that brown interlock like that. So we knew it was a neutral safety switch. Yeah. If you have any questions, please, hit me up. The video is not even close to any of the videos like I've made in the past. This one is a little bit scattered. I was getting really frustrated, and I couldn't get everything right. My camera, I couldn't see. It was just, I was getting glare. I couldn't tell if I was videotaping, and I was working alone. So and it was getting dark, and I had about 3 or 4 lights on the car, and I still couldn't see, and I couldn't position the camera correctly. So all that being said, I still got it done, and I made a video, and the reason this intro is super long is because a lot of my video footage got lost. I deleted it because I thought it was just bad footage, or either that or I didn't record it or something. And so when I went to upload it to my computer, I still needed my camera to finish up, and because my camera was full. So I went ahead and I deleted everything off the camera once I uploaded it to my computer, and I had deleted some of it also when I was working, because my camera was saying it was full and I needed more footage. So I had a lot of dead footage in there where I wasn't even doing anything. I was walking around and trying to figure stuff out, and so that took up a lot of time, and that took up a lot of video space. So hopefully, even with the stuff that I gave you and with the stuff that I'm telling you now, hopefully it'll help you, at least guide you in the right direction, so that you at least have a 80-90% knowledge of what you're doing before you get in there. And I'm just gonna let you know that this is gonna take you a while. Like I said, if everything goes well, I mean, you might be able to slam this out in a couple hours, you know. But it's just, everything's so tight, and everything is it's just so weird under there, and it's not hard now that I think about it. Like, oh my God, it wasn't that much stuff, you know. So when I was putting it back together, I thought I was gonna have a hard time getting the sensor in there, you know. And at first I kind of was, but the wiring had fallen down and kind of gotten behind there. So make sure that doesn't happen to you as well. But once I got everything in there, it was kind of easy, you know. Then I was just struggling with stuff like when I had to put the support back in there. The bracket kind of got in the way. I had to take the bracket out. So I'm saying, like, all the stuff that I'm telling you right now, if you listen to it prior, you know, because the order might not be great on the video. So I was recording stuff afterwards because of the footage I lost. I was kind of going back and saying, well, I did this because I didn't have the footage. So I'm going to try to splice that part in there as close in the correct order as I can, because I really want to get this video up. I have not seen a video of something like this at all. I've seen videos of guys with the stuff out, and showing you, oh yeah, it's really easy to take apart and this and that. And I use some of those videos as guides for myself, so I kind of had an idea. But pulling the catalytic converter, I didn't want to do it specifically because of the bolts, and I didn't want to break anything. And then now you have another problem on your hands. But anyways, enough of that. I hope the video helps somebody out there. And if it does, hey, hit me up, tell me you like it or whatever, or tell me you hate it. It doesn't matter. I do this for you guys. I don't do it for me. I like doing videos, and I like working on cars. Not all the time, but I mean, when I get a chance, and I like to videotape some stuff because I don't see it out there, and I know sometimes people are hurting. They can't afford to pay a mechanic to do something like this, and if you have time on your hands and you don't mind getting dirty, because I got dirty. Believe me, I got dirty. So get your scrubs on, get some good gloves and all that good stuff. because there's a lot of sharp stuff under there, so you don't want to cut yourself. And make sure you wear safety glasses or whatever, a bandana or something, because you're going to get grease and dirt and all kinds of stuff in your hair and your eyes. So just heads up. Thanks for watching, and have a good day. Hey guys, today we got a 2000 Nissan Frontier, and we got to replace the neutral safety switch. In order to do that, we need to pull out the catalytic converter and part of the exhaust system that goes that way under the vehicle. So first thing you want to do is you want to jack up your vehicle. Make sure you have some jack stands under there. Go ahead and loosen off your positive bolt. Go ahead and unplug your battery. You want to make sure that that's unplugged. Compartment, this is the fuse box right here, and then right behind there you have 4 harnesses. You have, you can see them right there. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and there's one right on the bottom. And the 2 of them that you have to unplug is going to be the top one, and then this one here, the gray one, that's the second to the bottom one. So you're going to push in the tab and pull it out. Same thing here, push in, pull it out. You might have to cut the split loom open to deattach it from the other cables. Mine was actually like taped to it. So I had to actually take like a little knife, a X-Acto knife, and kind of work my way. It wasn't all the way down. It was just like there was spots. And then once you get it loose from that harness, you're going to go down to the bottom and you're going to pull those wires out. Now, 2 ways to do this. I struggled. If you have a second person, you can kind of feed the wires and they can grab them and then you can pull them up. Another way to do it is you can cut the wiring down there and tape it to that and then just kind of pull them up instead of pulling these down. And then pull them up and then just kind of route it back the same way. Up here, and then I just plugged them in. And then I ended up putting my split loom and everything on there, because I put new loom. So we need to unplug the O2 sensor, which is right here. There's 2 of them. There's one here, and there's one here. I'm going to slide it forward to get it out of this little thing here. Turn it around. You should be able to push and then pull it out. Bolt that's up there, just gonna be back here, right here. I'm actually touching it right there. So I'd probably have to use some kind of a U, kind of come in like this and then go that way with like a U socket, and then get it to come down and then try to break it loose. So one here, and then the one back there. So we're trying to get in there, inside of here. This is the transmission pan. This is the cat. From the back side looking in, we need to get in here. So we need to get this out of the way. And as we come back here, nuts back here, one here. There should be one on this side. Right there. I don't know what. Hey guys, so you really want to soak this with some kind of penetrating stuff so that breaks loose the bolts. I was able to get the first one off. Didn't seem to penetrate any of the oil up there, but might want to try to shoot it from the top. The penetrating oil. Make sure it has the little squirting thing. Show you what I did. Got some kind of a breaker bar. Put my ratchet on there. If you have a breaker one, it's that you can use, probably better. And then just slowly crank it. Don't just go full force, because then you might snap the bolt. Didn't snap this one. We've got 2 more to go. Hopefully we can get those off. So I just squirted that with some more penetrating stuff. I'm actually using just WD-40 because that's all I have. Has the little spout thing here. I'm using a 1/2-inch ratchet on here to a 3/8 adapter. Hopefully I don't snap the adapter. So get back under there and try it. Take off the next one and then we'll shoot for the last one. So that's, I got this bolt out. The next bolt is this one here. Now this is about a 2-foot extension on here. It's probably a little exaggerated, but it might give me even a little bit more leverage. Okay, something snap. Hopefully it's just the bolt that came loose and it didn't break. We got it out. It's for my dad, not for me. Man, we got it out. I actually have a long extension. Almost looks like a swivel because the ends are different. If you look at this one, it's squared off, and you look at this one, it's like rounded. This socket swivels, which was perfect because then it went in there, grabbed the bolt, and gave me kind of an angle, and then I just added my extensions to it. Then I used my breaker bar and I got it out. I would definitely put some WD-40 on these. I'll spray WD-40 on both of them. This trick works. Well, my uncle's taught me this. Use leverage with another wrench. Let's see if it works. Yes! Thank you, Uncle Miguel. So we got that one out. Problem is, I'm laying down, I don't got no strength. There it is. All right. Okay guys, so I have to support the transmission at the end of it because I'm going to remove this crossbar here. So I can get the cat to come all the way out. That way I got all kinds of room in there. Now I'm going to take these bolts out. I don't know why. There's one, and then the other side. I gotta get a ratchet to hold it. So I got a ratchet on the top. Barely was able to get it in there. I shoved it in from back here, angled it and put it on there, and it went on the bolt. Close. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. Just trying to get that ratchet in there is like a nightmare. We got one bolt here, and then we got one bolt in here, and those are a bit smaller. That way I can break them loose. wires too. And we haven't even got to the sensor yet. This is just taking down all the stuff around it. Like this. Okay guys, I don't know if you've seen what happened there, but I had to let the transmission down because this bar has to go all the way back in order to let the cat come out. So that bar has to actually come out. That's the only way that cat's gonna come out. So when I put it back in, then I gotta pull that bar all the way back, which shouldn't be a big deal. I'll figure out a way to be able to slide that past here. So get it right about up to here. I just gotta push up the transmission a little bit. Not even a lot. You see that? Oxygen sensor's right here. I unplugged it. Hopefully that was the right one. And just pull it down. Pull the wiring down. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove this pieces and try to get this cotter pin out first. Got that cotter pin out. We're going to move it all the way to the forward position. So take that bolt off. And it's got a little washer. Don't forget the washer. And we're just going to pull that out. And it only goes in one way, as long as it's facing up. Because it's got that little thing goes like that. Washer and then the bolt. Okay, we'll put those next to the cotter pin. So there's one of the bolts. See the other bolt over here. There's supposed to be a little bracket up on top that supposed to have a bolt on there, but it doesn't. And that one's really hard to get to because it's kind of far up. But I guess when they swapped the transmission on this, I guess they forgot to put it back on or something. I don't know.
Just has like a little metal bracket. There's another one of those. That makes two. I could have swore there was one more. It's like right here and it's right there. It's like inset a little bit. There's the third bolt. So they're all tiny little 8mm bolts. So then this, push this all the way forward, because it's pretty hard to get past this metal bracket right here. The bracket for the that shifts the gears. It's got to clear that. So you have to kind of pull on it and kind of push. You kind of have to make it bend like this a little bit on the back end. Try to get it out. Wow. I don't know if you guys seen that. I just barely went like that and just went like that and it popped off from this side. It just came out. Broken? Maybe that's why it stopped working. I don't know. Found this metal bracket, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Nothing else has been easy to come off. The bracket is kind of holding it. It's just like wrapped around. It's a pretty strong. There we go. There we go. There's the bracket that was up there. Okay, so the neutral safety switch is right back here. Okay, try not to get in the way of the light. It's back here. So in order to get to it, the first thing you're going to do is take off this cotter pin here. Here, cotter pin right there. Okay, you got to pull out that way towards the back of the vehicle and then just get the pin out. Once you get the pin out, you're going to take this rod, you're going to move it that way and just get it off of here. Next step you're going to do is this piece right here. You're going to push it all the way forward. Okay? Push it all the way forward. You're going to take off this nut. Just use a wrench. There's a little washer on there. And then you're going to go ahead and try to wiggle this piece out. Okay? It should be fairly easy. So once you get that piece out, there's 3 bolts in there. They're 8mm. There's one right there. You can see it. It's right inset there. Another bolt up on top. Right there. Once you get those 3 bolts out, there's a bracket that goes up. It's a metal bracket that holds the wiring for the neutral safety switch. And on mine, it didn't have the top bolt. I think it might be a 10mm. It's right up that way. So you're gonna probably have to get like a small socket with a little wrench and then try to take that off if yours has that on there. Mine's, I guess the transmission was replaced, so whoever put it back did not put that bolt back, so it was missing, which made this kind of easy to remove. Honestly, if you can't get it off of there, once you take the bolt that's on this side, you could just move the bracket out of the way because it's attached on top. Just kind of bend it and then you'll be able to get in here. And then what you want to do is you want to get behind the neutral safety switch on this side with kind of like a tool and just kind of pry a little bit here. And then the neutral safety switch will kind of turn this way and then you'll get it out. You have to clear, there's like an area where it goes in and it hooks on. There's like a little thing that goes like this. And then the neutral safety switch has like kind of like an idle like this that's kind of closed. Mine was broken, it was like that. So they come when they're new, they're like that. And then what you want to do is you want to kind of move it like that and then pull it out. towards you, towards the back of the vehicle, okay? Once you get that out, then now all you got to do is unplug the wiring from in the engine compartment, because that rolls up that way, similar like the oxygen sensor. Okay, so this is the old one, right? This is the new one. This piece is broken right here. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but that is broken. So I don't know if they cut it when they try to put it in. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But looks identical. So let me show you the wiring here. So plugs are the same. We already looked at that, so we're good there. So what had happened is this split loom, the original split loom that runs on the firewall, actually melted. So it melted all these wires, and so then I went in and I fixed all this, thinking maybe it was just burnt wires. So I don't know if that actually damaged this, because I had a short in there. After I fixed those wires, there was no more short in there, but the vehicle still wouldn't start. But I wasn't getting any power to my relay up front, and I could see why now, because this goes up to the front. This sends a signal back up here, which is probably these right here. This probably sends a signal to the starter. Makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna dive back underneath there. We're gonna try to at least get this put in today. Route these back up there, mount this in there, and go in reverse order. Alright guys, well, I routed this back up into there. I added new loom in there. It was kind of a pain because it was all kind of wrapped around the transmission, so I had to unravel it. Couldn't record that because it was such a pain. So I came back here, the firewall, ran it all the way up. I'm gonna zip tie it up here. Came up here. And it plugs right in here. So it's this one, not the brown one, and then it's the gray one right here. Those two. But I also had to fix the wiring because it was all tangled up down there, so it took me a little while. I couldn't record any of that. So we're going to try to mount the neutral safety switch sensor. I already routed it and connected up on top. Now I got to try to get this back up there and get it behind here. So what we want to do is we want to try to get this side in tilted and then kind of come in like that. This piece right here has to hook onto there. That little sliding thing right there. Make sure it's all the way down. I try to guide that in first. Okay, that's in. Make sure the wiring is out of the way. The wiring was kind of blocking it. So that wiring, I'm gonna have to zip tie all this. Get it out of the way because it got in the way right there. But it's down, it's in. Screw there. Bracket goes here. Boom. Those little screws in there first. Put this top one in first. See if I can get my hand in there first. I know you guys can't see a whole lot here, but it's just putting on the 3 bolts. Just using the socket to try to get it on there because it's a little bit inset. If you have a little extension, you could probably use a little extension on there. Okay, that's number 2. And then the third one to the bracket. We'll be right back. Okay guys, to get the last screw on this side in, I already put the bracket up there. It actually holds up the wiring for this neutral switch. There's also supposed to be another screw up on top that goes to the tranny, but it didn't have it. I'm not going to worry about it. I think that one might be like a 10 millimeter. If I find one before I get this back together, maybe I'll go ahead and try to attempt to put that back on there. And it wasn't. So I'm going to torque those 3 bolts down. There's the first one. Nice and just snug, don't over tighten them. Go back and check on the other ones. So we got those 3 bolts in. Now we just need to put that lever back on there. So the lever goes back like that. It's got the little washer. And then the nut. And then pull that all the way back. Put that back in there. And then put this weird clip that has like a weird little squiggly turn to it. I thought it was like a standard clip. It's not. It's a real funky one. There it goes. That's snapped into place. And now we got to tighten this bolt back down. Alright, we got that in. We're good to go. Alright. So once you get that wiring back up there, then we're going to put the neutral safety switch back in. And it's reverse order. Same thing. You're going to put it in, get it behind here, make sure that it hooks on to the there's like a little guide. You can't see it until you pull this off. But there's a lever right here that you have to move. That's the lever that you have to move forward and back. So you'll move that lever. It's a black lever. It's right behind here. God, it's hard to see in here. You'll move that lever forward, and then you'll hook it on. You'll put it in, and it'll hook on. That piece will hook on like that, and then it just sits right in there. And then you put the 3 bolts back on there. There's that bracket up there, if you can see it. There's the bracket right there. See that hole right there? That's supposed to be mounted to the transmission, but I didn't put it back on there since I didn't have the bolt. You can see it now. So once you get that back in there, you'll put the 3 bolts back on there. If you have that bracket, you know, obviously wrap it around the neutral safety switch wiring. And then if you can bolt it back to the transmission, go ahead and do that. Once we get back over here, then what we'll do is we'll put this lever piece back on. We'll put the nut back on there, and then we'll push that all the way back, put this back on there, and then put the clip in place. Okay guys, so I'm gonna put this thing didn't have a gasket coming from the top to the catalytic converter, which was kind of weird to me. We went down to O'Reilly's and they sold us this. They said that it does use one, but I didn't see one on there. And I lined it up there and it looks like it fits. And we're also replacing the one in the back. And we just want to make sure we don't have an exhaust leak when we're done. So I'm just gonna go ahead and lay it up there and try to get the bolts and then try to start those up there. So this is gonna be fun because I have to balance the gasket on the catalytic converter and line it up and then push it up there and try to get it to line up. So basically the gasket's right here, and then I got to put those two bolts on, and then there's one on the top back that's kind of hard to get to. So I'm going to try to do that. I just kind of put this one in by hand, kind of hold it on there. I'm going to try to get that next one over there and then get the top one up there. Once I got them up there, then I'll work my way back here, get this back up on here, put the gasket in there. So the 3 bolts are up here. Those are the ones that we got to try to get in there. I'm going to try to guide this bolt in there. I think I have to go from the back. And this is my socket that has a little bit of a swivel to it. Just gives you a little bit of play when you're trying to get that to go where it's supposed to. I'll just see if this thing will go in. So I try to angle you up, but it's just not going to work because it's right in my line of sight and I have to be right here. Man, this is going to be tough. Okay, I was able to guide the 3 bolts up there finally. Wow. And now I'm taking my drill. I'm going to try to tighten them down a little bit. 1, 2. This one's a little bit. Stuck on me from back here. Okay. 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 Now, mind you, I took these off with a pipe on a ratchet, so this is not tight enough. This is just to get it fairly tight up there, but I'm gonna torque those down by hand. We're gonna move back here. We're gonna move back here. I think before we do that, we need to move. Yeah, I think I need to move this plate out of the way because I need to get this bar back right here where it's the support for the transmission. So I could have put this plate back on here while I was in here. There's another little plate that comes off of here. I took it off with the exhaust on there, so I guess I'll put it on with the exhaust already on there and everything back together. It's 2 little tiny 10mm bolts. I didn't show that in the video because I think I had it already taken off prior to all this. Yeah, we're kind of going backwards here. Anyways, I gotta lower the transmission down so that I could actually slide this past here and then put the thing back up on the transmission. Okay, let's take that off. I think those are. I can take these off real quick. There's one. hopefully you guys can see that. There's a bracket on the transmission that goes to the muffler, and I probably should have, I think I should have taken it off first like this. That hooks onto there and then it goes into here. Let's take that out of the way so we can move this back. I've got to set it on both sides. And I need to move the transmission just a little bit. That's the problem. There we go. Slide one side in. I need to literally push up on the transmission a little bit. Now I'm literally I'm lifting up the transmission right on the support. I'm sorry, on the shaft. So I'm just trying to get it to clear that rubber. Get my finger in there, put it right in there. Push the screw up a little bit. It comes down to the pedal. And then this is going to go over there, and then those two screws will go in there. So I'm just going to put the screw on there just for a minute. I think the whole thing's going to probably try to spin on me right now. I'll hold it from the top. Just put it on there a little bit. And then we're going to go to that side. Okay, so we put this bolt, kind of just barely put it on there. And then before you put the second one on there, you want to line up the transmission and bring it down so it goes through these two holes. Once it goes through those whole holes, then put this bolt on. And now we could put those bolts on. Put these on. And then torque that one down and torque that one down. And then we'll go ahead and put our bracket back on here. Put that back together. Okay guys, so we're going to tighten the support for the transmission. And then we are going to tighten up these bolts on the outside. Guys, in order to tighten this up, you want to use a ratchet with a small socket, because you got to get it behind here, behind that area. Get it up there, and it's got to hold the bolt. And I got it up there, I held it, and then I tightened it down with my impact, which will probably be the easiest way. I'm going to go to the other side and try to do the other side. Get it behind here any way you can. The idea is to, once you got it on there, to hold that bolt while you tighten it up. And there we go. Now, you could go back and torque these down, get them right. I'm not sure what they torque down at. I usually just hand torque them. This impact's pretty good, but when I took them off, I did use a crowbar to get them off, so they were fairly tight. So now we're going to go back there, put that bracket back on there, and then I'll torque everything down when I'm done. So this has to go through there. It's got to go under here. It's got a hole here in the back. And another one over here. I think these two, I just used a wrench to get them off. They were really, really tight. And then these two screws here. These ones I was able to get them off with the drill. Not too bad. Tighten these down first. Let's get these tightened up as much as possible. Now you might be able to use one of those wrenches that actually ratchets in here. I think you have a little bit of room. I do have one, I just don't know where it's at. So basically what I'm doing is I'm getting my other wrench and I'm kind of using leverage to tighten it down. Alright, so those are tight. Whew. Okay, let's see what else we got left. And then it's just that the other little cover I was telling you that goes on here. There's a little shield here. That actually goes, it's a heat shield. If it just kind of goes up there like that, and then the two screws go on there. So it's not a big deal. And then you probably need like a little 10mm wrench in here, because you can't get I don't think you can get a socket in here. Make sure you guys wear gloves and safety goggles when you're working under here. I'm wearing my glasses so I can see, because it's blocking a lot of this stuff that's falling down. Could be falling into my eyeballs. Alright. I think we got it all buttoned up. I'm not going to show the rest of this, but I'm gonna torque those bolts down. I'm going to torque these two mount the brackets on, the transmission thing down a little bit more. I already torqued this down, so I'm good there. But the three on top of the cat, I want to torque those down by hand. These ones I got pretty tight, so I'm good. I'm happy with that. What else? And then just plug the battery back in and hopefully it starts. But that's pretty much it, guys. Hey guys, so if you have any questions, hit me up. My video came out really crappy, I think. I just had a lot of parts that my video got deleted, and I was trying to go backwards and forwards. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good night.